So where did the term indie originate? Where did it come from? How has it defined our lexicon as it is now? And how did we get from there to here at Slamdance?
At the turn of the 20th century, film was becoming a very popular and well-recognized medium. So much so, big corporations saw it as a revenue enhancement and headed west, where they could build these giant lots and create what is known today as the studio system. To ensure their investments, they found the biggest stars and signed them to long-term contracts, obligating them to the studio and its whim for the duration of that contract. Furthermore, these studio heads fancied themselves as film experts and used their enormous position to manufacture and create, oftentimes from scratch, the next wave of stars, foregoing the artistic process and the integrity of the art in the meantime. That was until four of the most prominent stars of that era got together and formed United Artists, the very first independent movie studio. Without this creation, we would not have Rocky, Martin Scorsese, or Sidney Poitier, Barbra Streisand, or James Bond. And all that might not even exist if not for the first indie small press publisher, William Morris. Mr. Morris took the idea of wanting to put his work out there after taking a printing class, in which then he started Kelm-Scott Press, a publishing house that started by him publishing his own books, not only making him among the first self-publishers, but also collaborating with other artists to make him one of the very first anthology publishers.
You know, artist journey is such an interesting one, and it's interesting that the word indie is so associated with Park City now. It's part of the lexicon, it's part of the culture here, and it all culminates here at Slamdance. I mean, there's no better representation of indie than here at Slamdance. And I certainly think if you're a film buff, if you're a film lover, if you're a filmmaker, if you're wanting to ever be involved with any part of being in film, this is the place to come each and every year. So check it out. And, it's interesting that United Artists paved the way for this to happen. 26 years and going strong here at Slamdance in Park City. And, the great thing about it is, it's always time to go indie now.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another monthly marketing tip. This month, I want to talk to you about something that I know a lot of us have participated in at one point in our career. Some of you may still be doing it, and this is something that could really help you if you stop. And I know that's really kind of something I don't usually do. I don't tell you something that you shouldn't do. I usually tell you what you can do to market. But this is what I would call a marketing no-no. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about like for like, follow for follow, and all these follow trains and things like that you see on different types of social media. On Facebook, it's usually like my page and I'll like yours. Or on Twitter, follow me and I'll follow you back. On Instagram, the same thing. And then I think on Twitter, they have something called a follow train. And it's basically, unless it's motivated by a genre-targeted prize, I really do not like the train idea either, because, and this is why I'll tell you why this is something that I think is concerning, is because you are essentially just getting other people who are most likely authors to follow you. And authors are not your target audience. You need to be targeting the people who like your pages and who subscribe to you, who follow you on Instagram, all of those things. They need to be targeted to your audience that you're trying to reach to sell your book. Other authors will support you. Some of them will buy your stuff, but again, that may skew your also bots if they don't normally buy from you. And just having a bunch of random people who may not really read anything from you or from your genre is not going to help you sell books. I am guilty of this. I used to do this when I was a young author 2 or 3 years ago when I first started out. I was like, oh, the more likes that I can get, the better. But really, you're wanting quality over quantity, especially on things like Facebook, where you have to pay to boost posts to even get them seen most of the time on your Facebook page. Why boost them to people who are not going to be engaged? So engagement is the big thing that you want on all of your social media platforms. So stop doing like for likes. Now, Follow Friday is a little bit different. I think that's more of a suggestion, and it's not really, you don't make it a requirement to follow you, and you don't have to follow anyone else back. So I still think that Follow Friday on things like Twitter are fine. But as far as doing these follow trains, especially when there's no genre targeted prize involved, you're just pretty much asking the same people that see that same post, who are most likely authors, to follow you, and it's not productive. If you will look on my Instagram, I'm not following hardly any authors. I think I follow somewhere around 3,000 people, and I've got about 6,300 people following me. And the only people I follow are people I'm genuinely interested in, and most of them are book bloggers. Most of them post pretty Instagram pictures of YA books because that's what I'm into. That's what I, as a reader, like. And we have to really think about what readers want to see on our pages, because that's our target audience, and that's who we need to be targeting. Okay, so that's my tip for this month. Please stop participating in the follow trains. Buying trains. Do not participate in buying trains, guys. I see some of these book buying marathons, and they are a terrible, terrible idea. Authors are not the people you want buying your books. You want readers to be buying your books. And there is some crossover between authors and readers, but significantly, you want people who are mostly readers buying your book, and you want readers in your genre. You don't want some erotica author who only buys erotica and reads erotica, like getting your Christian romance book. It's just, your also bots are not going to match up. It's going to pollute them, and it's not going to be good. So I think I've preached on that in the past, so I won't do too much on that. But please stop doing like for likes and follows for follows, and try to reach readers instead, because authors are not going to be what helps you sell books. Okay, that's my marketing tip for this month. As always, if you have any questions, you can always email me at info@fiction-atlas.com, or message me on Facebook or pretty much any other social media, and I'll get back to you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Greetings, fellow humans. It's been a while, and I'm happy to be back here. I am your friendly, scruffy neighborhood JD Estada, and this is GoIndieNow's Indie Music Review. So, being stumped with work, I'm actually delivering this a bit late, but I think it resulted in a really, really cool thing. I wanted to do something different, and most of this year I'm going to probably do something different each month, just to offer something different. By the way, this is actually Pinback, and the album is called Information Retrieved. So how did I stumble upon this album? Okay. Normally when I go to Bandcamp, I go to the website and I do a different search on related stuff like that. And I wanted to try something different. Way back when there was a Specs in my neighborhood and one of my go-to record stores, they had a used CD bin. It ranged from 99 cents to $7.99 or $8.99. Very few in that range, a lot, and there was actually a 99-cent bin. So I would look at the covers, and I would spend $10 and see what happened. I wanted to do the same approach here, because it's been so long since I did that I'm like, wow, I should do it again. And I'm really happy I did, because I stumbled on this album. And normally when I listen to an album or music from an artist, I listen to a couple of tracks. This album I stumble upon and I've listened to it 3 times. If you listen to the music, you're gonna get notes of Death Cab for Cutie. You're gonna there's actually some songs that have even My Morning Jacket and CSNY, maybe even a little bit of Long Wave. But it's a great album. It flows. It's solid from top to bottom, and it happened by doing something that I used to do a lot and that I miss doing. So I'm probably gonna swing by a record store, see if they have a used CD section, drop some coin, and see if I have, pleasant surprises. The good thing about Bandcamp and other websites like that, and SoundCloud and stuff like that, is that you can discover new artists, and the risk is super low because you can actually listen to their tracks. If you have the money, you support. It's as simple as that. If not, you listen to it directly in the Bandcamp app or on the website, and that's cool too. But if you really enjoy something, and I really did enjoy this one, I'm gonna actually buy it. I haven't bought it yet because I stumbled upon it 3 listens ago, and I've listened to it 3 times. This first track is called Proceed to Memory. And okay, check out the intro to the second song. It's so good. It's I can't say it's mellow, but it's not metal. The instrumentation and what everyone is doing, it's good music to listen to at all 3 levels. And when I say 3 levels, I mean full focus, mid-focus, and white noise when you're working. To me, it actually works on all 3. And tell me that doesn't sound like, it has that Death Cab for Cutie feel. But lush instruments, and you see how they vary the guitar work, and rather than repeating the same musical movements, they vary it up in the same song, and I think it's fascinating, and I just can't wait to dig into this even deeper with like my best headphones and total silence. The song that I was referring to, let's see if it's no. Listen to this one and tell me it doesn't have. I listen to it and I think of My Morning Jacket, some of the slower tracks on The Waterfall, and some slow CSNY tracks. Not as much of a focus on vocal harmonies, but in the instrumentation. Full on My Morning Jacket. Again, stumble upon this band. It's an indie band. 12 tracks, all 12 tracks are solid. I'm a happy guy. And I love, if there's something that's always gonna characterize me, is that I love sharing the wealth. And this is one hell of a find, so by all means, check them out. I'm gonna check out the entire discography. I'm gonna probably pick up a couple of more albums, but again, Pinback, good band, so check them out. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions on bands that you'd like me to review here on the channel, let me know. And if you have any thoughts on this, leave a comment in the sexy comment section down below. Anyways, till next time, peace, love, and monkey rolls. And remember, guys and gals, it's always time to go indie now.
Come in. Odyssey, do you copy? This is Dr. Nell Bentley. Does anyone copy?
Hey guys, my name's Bryan Tann. I'm the author of such works as the Path of Redemption series, the John Baker Chronicles, which is a spin-off to Kendra Salidas' Permutation Archives, and Ed and Livy. All these books will be available from Random Evolve Media. Chapter 1. As soon as the light hit his eyes, keeping them shut felt like a better solution. The stab of pain in his brain from the soft fluorescent lights threatened to send his eyes out of their sockets. His lids pressed tightly closed in a protective embrace that did nothing to take the ice-pick feeling away. He could not feel his body, but knew it was there. 2 arms with hands at the wrist, with 8 fingers and 2 thumbs apiece. His legs with 2 feet at the ankles with 10 toes. He knew they were there, but there was no control of them. He could not move them, and he was unable to risk the pain to look as to inquire as to why he was unable to. So, he laid still. The knowledge that he was on his back was evident, partially due to the uncomfortable feeling of laying flat on his back and the irritation of it created. He longed to at least roll to his side. He was too heavy. He could not move. His brain couldn't muster its own strength to give orders, let alone make his worthless appendages follow commands. The idea to scream in frustration began to fight its way through the haze of weakness with a surprising strength that burned out as fast as it came. It remained settled in his consciousness like a splinter pushing deeper into his mind. After a few moments, he noticed a small amount of strength returning. Still unwilling to risk his eyesight, he tried to flex his hands and felt himself restrained at his wrists. The restraints, despite the soft padding engulfed him, brought him agony. They would not allow him to roll onto his side or onto his stomach. He just wanted to go back to sleep, but he couldn't while on his back. "You bastards, whoever the fuck you are," he said inside his mind, hearing 4 distinct footfalls and voices. The metal-on-metal sliding sound brought another wave of pain to his already aching head, and a heavy door opened somewhere in the room. He wasn't able to figure out where. "I think he's awake," a man's voice. "I think you're right." A woman now. "Give him the shot." The man was giving orders. Dr. T, Dr. Newton said a full dosage should be once every 24, the woman protested. I know what Dr. Newton said. Dr. T did not sound happy. But we cannot let him wake fully. Give him a full dosage, now! If I give him a full dosage, he could develop an immunity. Nonsense. I specifically developed the serum to ensure that nothing like that travesty back east will ever happen again. You will not gain an immunity in any way, shape, or form. How can you be so sure? Nurse Denton, you can either give him the shot, or I will. I want him to remain docile, and that is final. I will inform Dr. Newton of this and take full responsibility. Now, do it! With the raised voice came more pain between his ears. The sound of the door opening and closing again followed hurried footsteps. What an asshole, the woman, now identified as Nurse Denton, said in a low voice. I'm sorry, Sergeant. A pinch, then the spreading of numbness. His head became heavier, as did his limbs. The exhaustion hit like a tidal wave, and the idea of being on his back was no longer a concern. Good. Sleep's coming. I'm so fucking tired.
Oh, hello. How are you? I'm Jason LaVelle, and I'm going to be giving you a reading today from my collection of short stories, A Flutter of Darkness, available from Three Furies Press. This story is called Watching and Waiting. She crouched down low behind a stack of slowly rotting apple crates, an abandoned girl in an abandoned place. Mud that smelled of dead fish soaked through the canvas of her shoes and wet her feet. The thick, sick stench of the river mixed with the prevailing city smog to create an atmosphere all its own. Mary was utterly silent, even willing her heart to beat more faintly. The city slept in the distance at her back, but the water never slept, rushing gently toward the lake, gurgling as it wove around the concrete pylons at the base of the bridge. There was another sound known, one only she could hear, a soft scraping as the man dragged his package to its final destination. She saw him as clearly as if it was daytime and not past midnight. From her side of the apple crates, she watched through the slats while he labored down to the river's edge. The man wore tall rubbers, much more sensible than her canvas flats, but she owned no other footwear. He also wore a long black coat that stretched down past his knees. When he finally set the body down, he straightened, stretching his back. Her heart rate increased. She wrung her hands in anticipation. After his brief rest, the man unfolded the wrappings on his parcel and revealed her to the night. She was nude, as were those he'd previously brought here, with pearly white breasts jutting up toward the stars, and a proud, thin chin angled up as if, even in death, she knew her high station. When she'd been fully exposed, the man knelt down and touched her body all over. His gloved hands were careful, gentle. Mary tingled, and no amount of willpower would calm her racing heart. The man took the wire from his pocket. It had 2 wooden handles on either side of its length. He looped the wire under her arm, up by the shoulder, braced himself back, and began to work the wire back and forth, sawing through her flesh. When he came to the joint, he wrenched the limb hard, like a drumstick from a chicken. A piece at a time, he discarded her body into the river. Despite the coolness of the night, sweat dripped down Mary's back and soaked her armpits. She smelled the perspiration, one more noxious odor in a foul-smelling city, and her nose involuntarily wrinkled. The tingling tension ran throughout her body. She couldn't control it, and she found herself bouncing on the balls of her feet, waiting, enthralled. The torso was the most difficult for him. Even with the arms, legs, and head removed, the woman's midsection was a hearty package. He struggled to lift it, and Mary had the sudden urge to dart out, to go to him. "I'll help you," she would say, and he would look at her silently and nod his approval. But she didn't do that. For as much energy pulsed through her, she was also stuck in place, mesmerized. At last, the torso sank into the current, and the man staggered back from the riverbank. His breathing labored, rough. His heart must be pounding too. He pulled the gloves off and tossed them into the stacks of apple crates and other refuse as he left. Mary nearly had a heart attack when one glove landed only a few feet away from her. Ever so quietly, she turned and watched him go. As he walked away, she would be fully exposed to him, a dirty mouse of a girl, only 12 years old, squatting in the mud and junk, with only a filthy dress to hide her. Well, I hope you enjoyed that first chapter in my short story entitled Watching and Waiting. There is a lot more in store for Mary and this mysterious murderous man. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you decide to check out the book. You can get it pretty much anywhere books are sold, or from the Three Furies Press website. And that book is called A Flutter of Darkness. Have a good one.
You and your friends got a lot of time on your hands?
No, they're for my sister.
It's a Ouija board.
Mm-hmm. It's a little different from the games you have been playing. You talk to ghosts with it.
Does it work for real? Spirits. Nobody else seems to think you're real, but I think you might be.
Every step she takes forward, she can so easily take a step back.
Mom? Dad? Please, say something. Yes. Spirits
Sylvia?
Is there a way to win? As long as it's fun, at least. I'm sorry. Oh, it's fun. You'll see.
Keep us quiet. Fighting on and on and on and on. Losing a war with myself over my personal health. Screaming my thoughts at the wall, 'cause you won't listen at all. Try not to let my head win. I pray to God on my knees. Sometimes I wanna give it and let it take me. What the fuck? Come on!
Hey guys, Katie Salidas here, and today I get to do a reading from the second book in the Running from the Devil series called Between. Chapter 11. Phoebe stumbled into her apartment just as the sun began to peek over the horizon. Smoke stared at her silently, letting the weight of his wide, judgmental eyes do all the talking as she tossed her keys at the TV tray and kicked off her heels before padding barefoot to the awaiting bed. "Nope. Don't want to talk about it," she warned him. "You reek of that room," he finally said as she was teetering over the blankets. "Coffee. Do we have any?" She dropped onto her bed without looking and landed on a hard lump under the covers. Adam woke with a shout of, "What the hell?" throwing aside the pillows and duvet that had concealed him. The morning could not have gone any worse, and yet here it was, swirling down into the shitter. "You're still here?" Phoebe groaned, knowing that the sleep she so desperately wanted wasn't going to happen anytime soon. "I told Samantha what happened," Adam replied groggily. "She told me she needed a couple of days to think. Sorry. I can get a hotel room if you need me to." "You're fine. Just shove over and give me some room, please." Tired as she was, she'd agree to just about anything if they would let her get a few moments of peace. Her head pounded as fiercely as the music from that club. Closing her eyes helped to dull the pain some, but the only real cure would be sleep. Excuse me, young lady?" Smoke yelled at her. "What the hell are you doing coming here at this hour? You're not getting off that easy. I want to know what happened to the succubus." "The succubus wasn't there," Phoebe groaned. Talking only made her headache worse, but Smoke wouldn't care. Little furball lived to annoy her. She sighed, resigning to the fact that she wasn't going to get out of revealing the shame of how her evening had played out. A man was. "One of the Fae?" Smoke asked. "An incubus," Phoebe said, but she was damned if she was going to reveal who had accosted her. That was the ultimate embarrassment of the whole thing. If it had just been any incubus, she could live with the walk of shame, but this ate her from the inside. "You didn't," Smoke laughed at her. "I can confirm that it's not a drug they're using," Phoebe offered, trying to ignore his question. "At least I didn't drink anything, but I still managed to... She didn't need to finish that sentence. It was all implied. And she understood what Adam had gone through in the previous night. All that pent-up desire, uncontrollable, while still being fully aware of what was going on. If only she had the excuse of alcohol to help her make that bad decision. Adam sat up to face Phoebe. I'm sorry. I know how you feel. I'm fine. Phoebe refused to admit the embarrassment, though she did appreciate his attempt at comforting her. But I did learn something important. Touch. That's how their power works, much like my own. So, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that little sample from Chapter 11. This is also Book 2, if I didn't mention it before. Title is Between. This is the Running from the Devil series by J.E. Taylor and myself, Katie Salidas. So feel free to check it out. All 3 books should be available within the next month. And please leave a review. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Bye.
I'm gonna be straight up with you. I gotta let you go. You're just not getting it done. I brought you on as a favor to your old man. But you're at that stage where you're not putting up numbers. I can't have you out there making me look bad. You're a good base stealer, but correct me if I'm wrong, you can't steal first base. Son, I'm releasing you because you just can't play anymore. Now, I gotta do what's best for this team here, son. You're a veteran guy, but I can find a guy who makes half of what you do and plays great defense, who at least makes contact. Well, this ain't about you or your character. Okay, you're a great clubhouse guy, you know the game, but you're getting old, and you just don't have it anymore. I'm sorry, Phil, but this is it.
Hey everyone, Rebekah Jonesy here, author, COO, and acquisitions officer for Three Furies Press. And I am here today with an editing tip. The major thing about editing is consistency is key. That is obviously the same in writing. You want to make sure that you've got all of your facts right across the board at all times, always. So how do you do that? Well, I have a trick for that, of course. When you're writing and talking about people, there's something you can use. It's called a cheat sheet or a one sheet. It's called a lot of things by a lot of different people, but it's basically the same thing. You can either make it, write it down on a notepad or, on Word, so it's always handy, and you can, search through it if you need to look for information, but I actually use a spreadsheet for mine. So in the first column, you're going to put the person's name. And it's going to be one for each of your characters. And it's basically going to be a description sheet for each of your characters. So it'll be the name, and then the description. And then you want to put something like their age, if you talk about it, their height, their hometown, where they're from, what their race is, if that's pertinent, what they're dressed like, what their weapon is, and on and on and on. Any family relationships they have, any wife, children, old partners. You can make little notes in those fields. That way you always have something to refer back to when you're going through and doing your editing. That is especially helpful when you're, especially in fantasies, when you're writing characters and they're going on a long trip. You can always look back and realize, nope, he's not wearing the black cloak, he's wearing the brown cloak. That's not the town he's from, that's, he's from this town, and on and on. You can also do it with, races, different races. You can describe what they're like, what continent they're from. You can do it with weapons. You can do it with religions, anything you want. Once again, you just write it down in the first column for what they are, and then describe them. That, this race is blue-skinned and has bulbous eyes, right? Well, to always refer to them that way. You're never going to say they're tiny eyes, because they've got bulbous eyes. And that way you can keep things consistent all the way through. You can also check back later and make sure that you've got all of your information correct, because obviously you want to keep this information correct, because your readers, they're gonna catch on. That inevitably happens. So make sure you've got it right, because you don't want your readers to find inconsistencies, because when a reader hits an inconsistency in a book, it knocks them right out of the reading, because they have to stop and go, wait, what? I thought he used a hammer, not an axe. So make sure it's consistent to keep the flow going, to keep your readers totally immersed in your story, and they will always have a much better time reading your books. So that's all from me. Once again, I am Rebekah Jonesy, and until next time, everyone, read well and prosper.
This is Okubo here, and welcome to GoIndieNow Film Reviews. And today I have a really good one for you today. It's called Nest Egg. It's directed by Lucy Patrick Ward. The star Paul Copley and James Northcote. Right? So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here with them, and then I'll go ahead and get into the other stuff about this film. This is it. This is the Nest Egg. Right, so we'll go to a little bit about. In the Nest Egg, we have, so about. Lucy Patrick Ward is an award-winning filmmaker based in London. Her works include short films, music videos, play, trailers, and commissioned promo films, etc., etc. What we're talking about today is right here, which is she has just completed post-production on her latest film, The Nest Egg, starring Paul Copley, Last Tango in Halifax, Downton Abbey, and James Northcote, Life in Squares, the United Kingdom, which is currently on its film festival run. Already with several wins and official selections, she is currently in pre-production for 2 more shorts and a film feature. Right? So what we have is a short film, and to teach us about who we are as a society and who we are to each other. I think I don't want to ruin too much because it is a short film, but suffice it to say, this man in the chicken suit buys eggs and then sells them to people to have them throw eggs at him. His reason for doing so is, in my opinion, so heartwarming. So it's like the bane of our existence almost, right? I really want you guys to see this film. It's always time to go indie now.
She said I'd be useless by myself,
I don't get it.
and she was right.
Can I have these, please?
You realise those aren't the ones with chocolate in.
I'm 8. I'm not stupid.
What, so I throw it at you?
Don't, Melissa. I need it. Do it.
As your solicitor, I feel some sort of duty of care. Everything.
Everything. And I've got nobody, no kids, no relatives, no friends. Not even a goldfish.
Hello and welcome to this month's review. So this month I reviewed Scars by Stacy Overby. So when Sean Russell went against Black Ops Command in order to help his best friend and fellow agent Eli Thorson, he knew it was a gamble. Eli had proof of illegal orders, and Sean wasn't going to let him take the fall. That's just the kind of man Sean is, loyal, selfless, and honest, which has led him down a pain of path and suffering before. The corruption runs deeper than either man thought, however. While Eli is protected with his new status as the man who saved the command, Sean is marked as the agent who disobeyed orders to bring the traitor down. Now Sean must pay for that, and there's a general who is determined to make sure it's in the most painful ways possible. Sean's put his life on the line to do what's right before, but never when so much is on the line. He can either keep his head down and do what they want, or gamble again and pray he can take them down first. Sean's mom always told him, go big or go home, and this mission has the highest stakes of all. So let's dive in. So Scars is a sci-fi space thriller that follows the action of Tattoos, which is book 1 in the series. This time we get the story of Sean, who gets a do-or-die mission, literally, and must find some crazy way for it to succeed. And plenty of action and twists happens to keep you interested. Now, I'm not usually big on military fiction, but Overby blends the military aspects so well into the story that it doesn't feel like I'm reading a story about military facts and stereotypes, like a lot of militaristic books read like. So I was able to just get swept up into the action, and it read very much more like a thriller with sci-fi aspects, as it is set in the future in space, with the Black Ops being run as kind of like a universal space military operation. And so this book is the sequel to Tattoos. So it's a bonus if you've read Tattoos first, but it's a really solid standalone book as it deals with a different protagonist this time around. So you do not have to read Tattoos in order to understand what is happening in Scars. So this is really nice, as I've had Tattoos on my to-be read list for a while now, but I didn't actually have the chance to read it before I read Scars.
scars. So I was a little worried that it would ruin my experience reading this one, but it did not in the slightest. It was just nice to be able to jump right into scars, knowing that I can go back and learn more about Thorson and get more of this world when I do get to tattoos. The characters were all well developed. Sean is a bit of a rogue, falling easily for a pretty face, but he's also the first to defend someone else when it's needed. So you can tell he's got a moral code that he lives by, even if he doesn't live by the rules. And he's smart, which he really needs to be to survive the crap he gets put through in this book. And now he has to take down someone big in the chain of command, someone who's had it out for him for some time now. So I enjoyed this book, even though it's not my standard read. It also wasn't outside the realm of what I do voluntarily grab, however, so it's not like it was completely off the cuff for me to read this. And I did actually want to read the story because I had gotten my hands on free short stories by Stacy Overby in this world. So I was really interested in this world anyways. So Overby writes this type of world really well. There's a familiarity about who the characters are and how the story unfolds that really is appealing. But enough twists I won't keep you guessing how things will end. So it's a mix of this homey and novelty that really makes me love her style. So I'll definitely keep reading what she's got coming out. And if you're looking for a quick read that's a little outside the usual what you read, or if you love sci-fi military thrillers, then definitely check out Scars by Stacy Overby and then grab Tattoos. So thank you so much. That's this month's review, and I'll talk to you later.
Two things I like a lot is finding a brewery within walking or Uber distance of where I personally am, and then finding out that they make killer beer. And that is what we'll be talking about here on the Indie Brew Review. I've got a great one for you, and if you're a summertime drinker, you'll want to tune into this one. I'm super excited to be moving to Sacramento, California, but I'm even more excited now that I know that the New Glory Craft Brewery is going to be a local brewery that I could go hang at every once in a while. I'm not a big brewery hanger or big drinker even anymore, but I do enjoy being able to go to a place and really experiment and find interesting combinations and interesting flavors that you normally wouldn't find at your standard, hangout, or, your Chili's or your Applebee's, the ones that have just the 3 beers on tap, and they're always, the messes of domestics that just really never, and maybe one wild adventure every once in a while, but it never satisfies you. This is a true testament to indie brewing and its ideal, having a brewery that features its product and its local, beers. And the beer I'm talking about is called the NGB Pils. This is the one that I've sampled and enjoyed quite a bit lately. It is one of their signature drinks. They have 5 of those that they do year round, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And then they have some seasonals, and then they do some special ordering. Some when they get an interesting flavor combination or something, they'll put out a special limited edition series or something to that effect. There's 2 types of Pilsners, right? There's the foamy, watered down Pilsner that probably most of you are familiar with, the Heinekens, and the ones that are thinned out instead of having that robust richness like a lager. The Pilsners tend to be the ones that are kind of have that really watery, just sampling of a flavor. And then there's the other type, which is the one that kind of acts as an Indian Pale Ale, an IPA that kind of hits you with a note, and then never that's it's not subtle. It's really strong, and then you get this watery taste afterwards, and that doesn't settle very well, and it never really settles very well in the digestive system. It's why Pilsners are a rare breed these days, or they've been, so mass marketed or so destroyed by, just watering it down and soaking it. And it's not one of the favorites among connoisseurs of beer. However, this might change your mind. I think what this Pilsner does that I haven't ever experienced before is it gives you that hint of punching flavor that I was talking about, where it hits your palate, but it doesn't just settle. It doesn't just overpower you. It actually kind of is like a nice smooth like wave on its last descent, where it kind of gets the foam. It rides very smoothly throughout your palate, and what it also does is it has a quenching aspect to it, and that is something that you really want with a beer like this, because it enables it to just settle, and then you can drink it periodically. You don't have to drink it very, very fast. With a lot of these beers, because of the watering down element or the strong element at front, you either have to let it settle for a while, or you have to drink it really fast, or it gets really warm, and then it gets really runny and awful. And this does neither of those things. I can sip this beer for a half hour. I can drink it in 10 minutes, but I don't have to let it sit for 30 minutes before I take another sip, or even 5 minutes. You can take a sip, take another sip, and then, settle in. And I love that about this. This is a Pilsner that I haven't experienced like that. Usually that's a lager for me. I like lagers because of that aspect of it, the settling factor, and the fact that you can drink it 5 minutes after or right after each sip. That's something that I really enjoy about this particular beer. Well, and this grouping has a wonderful, wonderful array of different types of beers. So they have their year-round favorites and their 5 beers that they feature exclusively in that respect, which is the Citra Dream, which is their IPA. Then they have the Wakey Wakey, which is an oatmeal coffee porter. I'm real excited about trying that one. They have Gummy Worms, which they call a chewy pale ale. I'm kind of interested in what that really means. I've never heard of that before. Maybe it's kind of like a real bitter, like a soury but sugary pale ale. I don't know. And then you have the West Coast IPA, which is the Uba Dank, which I think is probably their number one seller. It looks like it because it's in a lot of their advertisements and pictures and what have you. I mentioned summertime because this is what I'm talking about with summertime. Summertime is a more casual environment. You're usually a very strong, if you're a drinker of beer, it's usually in a social setting. And socially, you want a beer that's going to, stand the test of time, because you're going to be in a hot sun, or you're going to be sitting around. You're not going to be thinking about it because you're talking, or you're kind of doing whatever. You might be barbecuing, you might be going back and forth, you might be greeting people, whatever you're doing during that time frame. You might even go swimming or whatever. And I think this is a beer, this one right here, I think is a beer that is really made for that, because of what I said. Its staying power and its ability to hold its shape and and cleanse your palate at every moment. I think that's an important thing, and the most important thing for a summertime beer for sure. I don't know how available it is out there. Their website doesn't really say, but I'm sure you can find it. And if you can't, I'm sorry. Come over to my house. Come and hang out with me. I'll have some on ice for you in the fridge, and we'll come and hang out and barbecue at my house. All right. stay thirsty, my friends, and remember that's always time to go indie now.
Oh my god, Data, it's a Borg cube! Actually, Captain, forward scans indicate that this is not a Borg vessel at all. In fact, it appears sensors are indicating that it comes from another dimension entirely. Well then, lock on and photon torpedoes, full spread. We have such sights to show you! Hey, what's up? I would say that I didn't see you there, but that would be a lie. I knew you were there the whole time. I'm Ken Carlson. I like to make things. I write, I draw, I build stuff. I built this table. Sometimes I make movies. Movies are cool because they take writing and photography and performance and a whole bunch of other arts and smush them together like Play-Doh until you get something that sort of like resembles a story. And I like stories. I think stories and storytelling are one of the most important parts of being human. Like music, stories are a way of making something harmonious out of the chaos of existence. Making something that connects with people, so that hopefully, for maybe a minute, they can feel a connection across space to other people and realize that, while yes, life is shit, at least we can take solace in knowing that everyone out there is just as lost as we are. We're all just sort of drawing on the cave walls. Gronk was here for a minute. I like.
You asshole, you freak her out!
Whatever, I need to inspect.
You don't need to inspect. I am doctor. I inspect.
Hey, what's it gonna be, comrades?
We find out. She good one. Standard rate, dull boy.
For sure.
Well, what about discount?
Hey man, there's no discount. This is USDA choice grade A, you understand? Hey, I'm not going any lower, okay? We had a deal.
Whatever. It's all there, capitalist pig.
Well, it's been a pleasure doing business with you, comrades. Until next time.
You be a good girl, Shalava. Come on.
Probably my single most favorite aspect of filmmaking is the collaborative aspect of it. We've got writers and rewrites and directors and producers and cinematographers and actors and the art department and sound and makeup. And all of these different little things that combine to make something where there was previously nothing.
What are you doing, Peter? We need to get out of here. She is fucking wired.
Relax. Take it easy. Nobody know this place.
How do you know that?
Always Victorino is take it easy. Relax. Huh? The test of a man is not how well he do a thing, but how calm he is when doing it. I am wrong.
No, Peter, you're right. We're fine. We finish the job, we get paid.
Good. Take care off. I want to see mouth.
You guys paid to rape me?
You have other parts that interest me. You have heart, kidney, liver. I put on ice, we sell, make healthy profit. Rape. Now, let me see your teeth. Goddamn you! What the fuck are you doing? You ruined her! You damaged valuable parts!
As a director, I don't really ever have a vision, so to speak. I want to discover what happens when a bunch of people chip in and make something together. In the end, it's never exactly what any of us thought it would be. It's something entirely new. We painted on the walls together, and I love that. Sometimes making someone laugh is enough. I love comedy. It's one of my favorites. I used to make a sketch comedy show, almost 50 episodes of it.
Honey, I have something to tell you. I'm a necromancer.
A necromancer? What do you mean? You have sex with dead people?
Oh, no. Good God, no!
What does it mean? You're not a forensic scientist. I thought you were a barista.
Oh, I just do that during the day to pay for necromantic night school. I'm trying to get my BA in necromancy so I can move on to a 4-year college, do some graduate studies, get my doctorate, and join the Necromancers Guild. Wait, that's not even the best part. It's the zombies. Okay, I do this little incantation thingy, right? And sprinkle some powdered yak testicles on the cadaver, and presto, a reanimated corpse completely under my control. They exist only to serve my every whim, and they're nearly indestructible. It's awesome.
I've made half a dozen short films, a sitcom pilot, and even a feature-length comedy film that fuses comedy with my other favorite, science fiction. That's Dead Drift.
Welcome to Vendomatic 9000. Please make your selection.
Computer. Tea. Earl Grey. Hot.
Please make your selection.
$4.5 billion spacecraft, and we can't even get a working replicator? Really? Thanks to Morris.
Welcome to Vendomatic 9000.
Dude. Sir. What's up?
Replicator on subdeck 7G still isn't working. Now we're due at Mars Station at 0600, and I want everything in tip-top shape in case Schneider springs inspection on us.
Please make your selection.
I hate being yelled at in German.
Hey, no problem, man. I'll just take the old tricorder down there and run a sensor sweep on the primary buffer panel.
Are you mocking me?
What, me? No, not at all. I'm just gonna run a level 3 diagnostic over here.
Please make your selection.
Okay, we'll see that you do. And another thing, why is the vending station right next to the plasma conduits?
Welcome to Vendomatic 9000.
Computer, my name's Captain Banks. I'm an idiot with a stupid haircut.
Morris is all distraught because his wife left him. Well, we got a job to do. If he wants to be on my crew, he needs to lock it up. What a baby.
I want to fix a replicator and have a tea party with me future friend.
What's the status on that replicator?
Status is, this isn't a replicator, sir.
Well, then where's the replicator?
I don't know, development? Look, Captain, as far as I know, even in the year 2069, if you want hot tea, you gotta boil some water.
Yeah, condescend to me one more time, see where that gets you.
Look, I'm sorry, dude. The Vendomatic 9000 works just fine. You have to use the holographic touch interface. Primitive, I know. It's like we barely stumbled out of the Great Rift Valley. You can see it on Amazon. It's pretty campy, but it's also self-aware, because it knows that it's campy. It still manages to deal with legit science fiction themes while also featuring poop jokes and blow-up dolls to make you laugh. I also made what's been called an avant-garde, experimental, I mean, I didn't or wouldn't call it either of those, but it has been said, urban fantasy / horror film adapted from a comic book called Penny Palabras.
You heard anyone?
No. But I'm afraid he might.
This, straw man. He's serious business. If he hasn't hurt anyone yet, it's because he's not strong enough. But it won't take him long for him to change that.
What do you know about him?
Wow. Old stories. Probably mostly myths. But, everything's got a price. Even information. You know how it is.
Thank you for this. I'll bring it back as soon as I can. I probably won't even use it.
Another thing. This one's my treat. One of the verses from the stories tries to forget. The straw man wakes you, then nightmares take you.
She wasn't kidding. This thing really kicks. Just point. Exhale. And hope for the best.
Penny was a lot of fun to make. I think we struggled a little bit trying to find and connect with Penny's audience. I think they're out there. We just don't quite know how to reach them. And isn't that really the most difficult part of indie filmmaking? Micro-budget indie filmmaking specifically. It's finding an audience. That's been the case for me. And I get the sense that it's kind of a slog for everybody. Sometimes lightning strikes. For many years, I made the mistake of targeting other indie filmmakers. But alas, you're not my target audience. Nor am I yours. Cultivating an audience is hard. Sometimes people follow filmmakers, but that's pretty much only when you're on Coen Brothers Fincher level status. There's nobody out there who gives a crap what Ken Carlson, director of Dead Drift and Penny Palabras and Enter the Mind Dungeon's next project is, except my mom. Hi, Mom. So what do? I know there are folks out there that will make a season of a show or a movie, and then they'll leverage the fan base from that to launch another season or a sequel. And then they get a few more fans, and then they make another season or another sequel. And then they make another season and another sequel. And then they make another season and another sequel, and I'm like, damn. Personally, I can't and don't want to do the same thing over and over again. After Dead Drift, we had amassed enough of a fan following that we would have had a great base for launching a second season. In fact, we actually had all of Dead Drift's fans, I think there were 3 of them, clamoring for a second season of Dead Drift. But after 3 years of making Dead Drift, after 3 years of living in that world, I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to explore a different world. I find that every time I'm done with a project, I'm ready to explore a new place, to seek out new genres and new characters, to boldly tell stories I've never told before. Anyways, the current project I'm working on is called Enter the Mind Dungeon. It's a feature-length mockumentary about adults addicted to playing Dungeons and Dragons. Second edition, what up? See, the people in the study believe they're participating in a research study to find a cure for their condition, but it turns out the guy conducting the study is actually a mad scientist, and they're all unwitting pawns in his nefarious machinations. The script was written by Maddie Burdick and myself, and we also wrote Dead Drift together. Our inspiration for the story was a lifelong love of Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy role-playing, and all kinds of gaming, and sci-fi, geek, fantasy nonsense that we love.
2 different lives has been pretty difficult.
It's good for Anthony to have some adult friends.
Oh yeah, Beth here thinks I spent a little too much time at the Build-A-Bear on the mall.
That's true.
Tell me when it all started.
So I was a... camera's gonna be on me the whole time.
I think now's a good time to get your introduction. So if you just...
I'm Terry, plumber.
If you just look at the camera and
sure, yeah.
tell us your name and what's going on.
I'm Terry Plumber.
How long have you been involved with this group?
I think I first met Terry on a Buffy the Vampire Slayer message board back on AIM. And most of us were exchanging fan fiction and role-playing. But I remember Terry's descriptions of neck biting were always the best.
Dr. Flynn doesn't actually think there's anything wrong with Calliope. He says she's just a bit eccentric.
The goats are vegetarian, so the milk is vegan.
I don't think that's how that works.
Drink it. I decided to get into the game as a way to express myself as a being of pure arcane energy. Here, goats! Yes, all are welcome.
My team and I have spent the last few months shooting some content from Enter the Mind Dungeon in order to make a sizzle reel and do something I've never done before. Crowdfunding. That's right, we're gonna beg people for money to make our movie. Part of the reason we've chosen to go this route is that we want to be able to pay everybody that works on the movie. Actors, crew, even ourselves. And I don't have enough money to finance the thing out of my own pocket. So we're going to beg people just like you for money. If you're interested in following along with our progress on Enter the Mind Dungeon, you can do it at entertheminddungeon.com or facebook.com/entertheminddungeon. The tentative plan is to launch our quest for money in March, but that may change. It may be April, or who knows. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to Joe Compton for the opportunity to appear here, and to all of you out there making your own movies, like our Paleolithic ancestors of yore drawing on the cave walls. Keep drawing on those cave walls.
Which one of these is a D4?
It's the one that's shaped like a caltrop.
It's important to remember that these are normal people like you and I. They're suffering from a very real affliction. These are not monsters.
You take 33 damage.
You would not find them in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
I shapeshift into a dire octopus.
Look, I have to take this, please.
Can you even see my unicorn from there?
My throwing hammer gets a +2 against fairies.
I throw 6 daggers.
Wu-Tang, pa!
It's an escape, a release, a rush. The rush I get when I get to drive my mace into a kobold's stupid little skull, you know? I don't think any of us have a problem, necessarily. Except maybe Calliope. I'm a Capricorn. Duh.
Would anybody care for some elven wine?
This condition has been dubbed AODDS, or Adult Onset Dungeons & Dragons Syndrome.
Has Dungeons and Dragons affected your career?
It hasn't. Still a plumber. Level 1.
AODDS strikes without mercy, leaving tragic victims straining to maintain some semblance of normal life, while trapped in the dungeon of their own minds.
And then, out of the shadows of the alleyway creeps that same dog you saw from before.
Ooh, can I roll to see if he's a good boy?
You don't have to roll. He is a good boy.
A Dr. Leo Flynn has been studying the syndrome for the past 15 years. And despite losing his funding several times within that period, he continues to investigate.
Beholder. Dwarf Berserker. Bag of holding. Dwarf Berserker. Banana split. Oh. Displacer Beast. Dwarf Berserker.
My family just isn't as rewarding as Dungeons and Dragons.
But you love them, right?
Who?
Your family.
Yeah, they're okay.
I'm a single mom, 3 kids, and I work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, which is just. But Gwendolyn, my dark elf rogue, she doesn't have any kids. Does anyone mind if I share my erotic interracial fan fiction? It's about Gwendolyn, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson.
Yes, I might. No, just stop.
Why? Because Wilson is black and Rogers is white.
No, because it's 2 dudes.
No, it wasn't.
It's interracial because Rogers is a human, Wilson is a halfling, and Gwendolyn is a drow. So it's called 50 Shades of Greyhawk. One day, a tall, handsome ranger with a magnificent mustache rode out of the north. His name was Aaron of the Green Bay.
Rarely was I ever nervous. However, as I stood mere feet from the door of my director's office, looking down at my watch, which read 7:58 a.m., I had to do everything I possibly could to keep from jumping out of my pantsuit. The heels of my black boots smacked together, since I was not able to stay still, making small little clicks as the rubber hit against itself, followed by squeaks of the freshly waxed linoleum flooring on each pivot. I turned to the glass wall of the office beside ADC Bedouins, feathering out strands of my freshly curled locks of hair. Noticing the bright light that my hair, which usually was more of a chestnut brown, looking much closer to a honey brown. I had contributed this to all the outside exposure, but maybe, just maybe, this candidate's wife's stereotype was a virus on my exterior. This became a more terrifying observation only because it made me think how much more of a Barbie doll I looked like. Not only the color, but it just so happened I curled and styled it because it would be much easier to go from my suit to my dress for my meeting with Madeline, which is where I headed right after this meeting. So literally I looked more like the moral majority textbook than even I realized until just then. Especially since I had a nice blended eyeshadow and a strong vibrant lipstick color, which I proceeded to reveal my teeth through into a glass reflection, just to be sure I had none of it on my teeth. I shook my head, staring back at this near stranger who was becoming more familiar to me by the day. As I stared at my reflection, I wondered what, if any, of this all mattered, when all I was going to do was go right in and be offered a seat. My appearance being of no concern for this meeting. Then I realized why I was really doing all this. Stalling only works so much before you have to face the music. With a deep breath, I turned, facing the door, and I raised my fist to knock. "Come in, Special Agent Pachenko." I opened the door, no doubt looking stunned, and perhaps even dumbfounded, by not even being able to knock. None of this fazed ADC Federland, as he gestured for me to take a seat, and smiled as I did. "You no doubt missed the fact that I have a strip of glass that allows me to see on either side of this door. I saw you checking your lipstick. This must be serious." I crossed my legs, cleared my throat, maybe a couple times before I settled in the chair and looked up at ADC Federland. "Yes, sir? I think it might be." "Well, that is, I think." "Pachenko, relax. I'm not the enemy. Quite frankly, the opposite." That's when he stood up and snatched his FBI logo mug off the desktop. He ventured over to a small coffee pot and picked up the tureen of freshly brewed coffee. The scent wafted right into my nostrils like heaven was inhabiting my body. I closed my eyes and inhaled. "Coffee?" "Yes, please." He handed me his mug and picked up another that was face down beside the coffee maker. After pouring himself another, he turned back to me with a can of granulated creamer. "Cream or sugar?" "No, thank you." He raised his cup to his lips as he sat down and prompted me. "Go ahead. Say what you're going to say." "Well, sir, I need to know something." "Yes, Special Agent. I know it's not Captain Rose's daughter. You see, I had the coroner doctor the file right after I gave Captain Rose a polygraph to make sure it wasn't him." "I'm sorry, sir?" "We have a mole, Special Agent Pachenko. At least I have a gut feeling there's one in our midst." "You didn't possibly think that You didn't let me finish." "Of course not. I needed you and Special Agent Carter to play along for a bit. You both, of course, snipped it out faster than I had the opportunity to tell you." "I just don't understand why you would play a game like that with us, sir." That's when ADC Federland leaned in. "I don't know you in person. I know of you and everything about you from files. I know what I've been told, but rarely do I trust that. I need to know your limits. So sometimes I'm going to push your buttons and put you in a position you may not understand all too well. You're going to have to get over it. We need to find this mole and flush out this piece of shit down the sewage pipe from which it crawled out of. It's time for you to assemble your teams, you know." "My team, sir?" "Yep, lives are on the line, and we can't tiptoe and play possum anymore. This whole ruse will get out, and when it does, the jig is up, and people start dying. So let's get your team in here, or better yet, let's assemble them at Robbery Homicide. The conference room, I'm sure you're quite familiar with, yes?" "Yes, sir. I have a meeting at noon, but we can..." "Tonight. I want all the files of your team on my desk by 4 p.m. Then we meet shortly thereafter." "Yes, sir." I can't imagine the expression on my face as I was leaving the assistant director's office and wandering down the hall.